Well, you had one situation where you bought 5 pounds of meth
Correct.
from a guy named Ben.
Yes.
Okay, and what happens next?
So this case agent, a detective that I worked with, asked if I would be the undercover. I said yes. The first time I had bought from Ben and his brother was just an ounce. And so I don't remember who introduced me to him. But back then I would ride just a street Harley Davidson. It wasn't marked or nothing. You couldn't tell it was a police bike or nothing. We actually had rented it. So I'd ride up on my Harley and meet him in the van, buy an ounce. Well, then that worked up to a pound. So I went and bought a pound and left. And a lot of times they would start feeling more comfortable if they would sell a pound and not get arrested. So I know it sounds goofy, but in their mind, okay, this is for real. This can be a good thing. And the next thing was going to be 5 pounds. And back then we didn't have cell phones. You had pagers and pay phones and stuff. I think we had radios. I don't think we had Nextels yet. They hadn't came out yet. And so we set up this 5 pound deal. My story was I'm buying it for somebody else that lives in Marin. It's his money. And we're going to start doing business. And we wanted to start off with 5 pounds. And if we can do more, we'll do more. We're working with a task force with FBI and DEA at the time also. And we set it up. I go to meet him at his apartment. Now, at this time, we have SWAT officers surrounded the area, a lot of surveillance officers down the street, binoculars, a whole bit. And I go to meet Ben and his brother inside his apartment, which is upstairs in one of the biggest ghettos in the city of Richmond. And mainly, blacks or Hispanics lived in this area, so I stuck out like a sore thumb. I had a car at that time with a partner who was also an undercover officer, but his job was just to stay in the car, the driver, who also looked, you could tell he was a cop either. And so I remember walking up the stairs and going inside this apartment. And I actually felt pretty comfortable. I have a bunch of money. I don't remember how much it was, $48,000. I can't remember how much it was back then, but it was a lot of money. You get old, you start forgetting some of the details. But I go inside and I feel pretty comfortable. His wife's there, his kids are there, and he goes, "Oh, let's go in the bedroom." I said, "Okay." So him and his brother go in the bedroom. I go in the bedroom. He asked me, he goes, "You got a gun on you?" I said, "Yeah, of course I got a gun on me." He goes, "All right, put it on the bed." So I put my gun on the bed. They put their guns on the bed. And his brother pulls out 2 pounds. Says, "Okay, here's 2 pounds. Pay us for that, and then we'll get the other 3 and call you when we have it." I said, "No." He goes, "What do you mean, no?" I said, "No. The deal's for 5 pounds. I have all the money in the car downstairs. If I take 2 pounds back to this guy who's expecting me to bring 5, I look bad. I can't do what I say I'm going to do." I said, "So do you have it or not?" He goes, "No, we have it." I said, "Okay, well, call me back when you have the 5 pounds. And he goes, "Okay, we'll do that." So I don't know it at the time, but because I can't hear everything. And I have a wire on me where the officers doing surveillance can hear me. But it was either FBI or DEA. I think it was FBI. Didn't like that. If we could get 2 pounds, they wanted to get 2 pounds. They wanted us to arrest them right then and there. And so they were mad at me for leaving it there and driving away. So as we drive away, I park in the far distance where there's a payphone where I can call him. And he said he would page me when he gets to 5 pounds. Well, surveillance is watching this location. And they're relaying to me that, okay, the wife and kids are leaving. They're dragging some kind of carpet up the stairs into the living room. They're going in and out of the apartment. But him or his brother never left that location. Well, the pager goes off, so I call him on the phone, and he says, "Okay, we have it. We're ready." I'm like, "Okay." Now I'm kind of thinking, what, this is weird. Why is he making everybody leave? And I know that he doesn't have the 5 pounds because surveillance is watching him, but I can't tell him that. So they're asking me, what do you want to do? I said, well, let's go back over there and I'll see what he says. And they said, are you comfortable with that? I said, yeah, let's do it. I'm in this now. So we go back over there, and he comes down the stairs. He says, well, you coming upstairs with the money? I said, no. I said, do you have the 5 pounds or don't you? He goes, well, it's coming. It's coming. Just bring the money upstairs and it'll be here. I said, well, no, let's just hang out. Let's wait. Wait for I'm trying to buy time, trying to figure out, what's going on. I don't tell him that, but in my mind, I know that the 5 pounds is not up there. We're waiting maybe 5-10 minutes. These other two, we call them mopes, but they just basically low-level drug dealers that would transport the drugs. And they show up. They don't say nothing, and they just go upstairs into his apartment. And he looks at me and goes, okay, it's here now. Let's go up there. I said, okay. And he goes, what about the money? And I said, let's look at the drugs. Let's see what you got. He goes, okay. So we go up there. Now I see the carpet. Now there's an AK-47 laying across the kitchen cabinet or the countertop. I walk in the bedroom. He tries to get me to go in the bedroom first, and I won't go. He knows that I'm kind of spooked. And he says, come on, man, this is a family deal. We're gonna do some good business. Relax a little bit. I said, okay. So he goes in there. Now his brother's there, he's there, the other 2 guys are there. And now there's a shotgun laying on the bed, another handgun laying on the bed. And he asked me to put my handgun on the bed too. So I do. And then they both have handguns and they put them on the bed. I'm a little nervous at this point, and I don't see the other 3 pounds yet. Well, them other 2 guys had it strapped to their waistband, and they pull it out and throw it out there. They said, see, here's all 5. So are we good now? I said, yeah, we're good. So let me go downstairs and I'll get the money and I'll bring it up here, and then I'll take that. Well, when I leave the apartment, I don't realize that Ben is right behind me. And the guy in the car, I had said his name was Mark. But I said, Alec is going to like this. And Ben goes, what'd you say? And that was our bus word, our bus signal. Alec's going to like this. Now, when you call the bus signal, you can usually hear cars and stuff in the area starting up, because they're coming to swoop in and arrest everybody. I don't hear nothing. So I say it real loud. Hey, Alec's going to like this. And Ben's right on my back, just right on me. And he's like, what are you saying? What are you saying? You said it was somebody else. I said, no. I said, Alec, the guy in Marin, he's going to like this. No, you said his name was something else. And I did, but I don't remember what I said. I said, Mark's in the car. So now he's spooked, and his brother's up the stairs, and he's kind of scared. And then nobody's coming. So I'm getting to the car to where I have to open the trunk and show him the money. We had the money in there to show him. So I open the trunk, I unzip the duffel bag. As I'm unzipping the duffel bag, that's when the SWAT team and everybody moves in. They throw me on the ground. They throw the other 2 guys on the ground. They're handcuffing us all. And it's kind of chaotic for a minute. And they go up and clear the apartment. Well, Ben and his brother got away. They had jumped the fence and went over a couple streets. And they broke our perimeter where we had the officers. We didn't have it set up right. At least I don't believe we did, or we would have caught them. They got away. So we finished processing that, continue on with daily business. And that first year, it was about a year had expired, we had heard that Ben's brother had went back to Mexico and had gotten executed or killed. Rumor was it because whoever hooked me up with Ben's brother first, and then Ben's brother hooked me up with Ben. And the rumor was that he got killed for introducing the cops into this whole drug, whether it was cartel or not. Everybody says, oh, it was a cartel. I mean, I don't know if that's true. And then Ben disappeared, and we had heard that Ben was in Mexico. So about a year goes by, and I believe we had Nextels now, but I get a call from the case agent, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" This is about a year later. I'm sitting at my desk at the police department, and he goes, "What are you doing right now?" I said, "I'm just typing up this last search warrant, we're going to do this weekend." He says, "Well, I think Ben's over here at the gas station. Can you come over here and see?" I said, "Yeah." So I'll be right there, and it's not that far from the police department. So I jump in my car, I go flying over there. I pull up like I'm getting gas. And sure enough, I see Ben walking out of the store, walking back to his car. And he, and I had, dealt with Ben for a while. And so he stops and he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, Dave, how you doing?" And I went by Dave. They go, "Hey, Ben." I said, "Good." I said, "How you been?" He goes, "Oh, I'm trying to survive." I said, "Oh, cool." I said, "Well, good." And he goes, "Hey, Dave." I go, "Yeah." He goes, I'm going to jail, aren't I?" I said, "Yep." And so, I don't know why I get like this, because he was a crook. But anyways, he goes, "This is what I'm going to do." He goes, "I'm going to get in my car, I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to say goodbye to my wife and kids." I said, "No, Ben, you can't do that. You can't leave." He goes, "No." He goes, I'm going to go do that." And so he jumps in his car and he takes off. And so I next tell the officer, tell him. He calls for patrol. And it was a ways down there, but patrol comes flying. You can hear the sirens and stuff coming. And we're trying to chase him in our undercover cars. And he gets in front of his apartment, and the patrol officers show up, and he doesn't get upstairs. And they handcuff him, stick him in the patrol car. And so they also have a search warrant, or they're going to write a search warrant for that location. So we have to secure it and wait for the search warrant to be written before we can go in there. Well, before we transport Ben, another officer comes and gets me and says, "Hey, Ben wants to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So I go down there and to the patrol car, open the door. "So what's up, Ben?" He goes, "Hey, man, can you do me a favor, Dave?" I go, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "Can you bring my wife and kids down here so I can say goodbye?" So sure, no problem. So I go and get him, and he said goodbye to him. And I think I want to say he did 10 years. I can't remember.
That's a long time.
He did a long time.
A long time, especially when you have kids.
Yeah.
You missed a whole decade of their lives. Yeah. Right.
And it's weird. I guess it's, what do they call it, PTSD or whatever, that you get emotional over certain things, and I don't know why. It gets easier when I tell the stories, but just certain ones. But that was probably my biggest case as an undercover officer, which isn't, there's so many other people out there done so many other things. You got Jay Dobbins, you got the other guy's just recently around. And I watch all this stuff, and I can't remember his name for the life of me now. The undercover FBI guy he did some big cases with the biker gangs. There's a ton of them.